All right, welcome to this week's Fire Analytics meeting. I posted the notes just now. Sorry, I neglected to post them. Couple of quick updates from me. I have reached out to Ward on Dev Day sessions. The official deadline is, I think, the 31st. So um, I have not, unfortunately, progressed too much there. I know people have talked about it. So, like, I'd be interested to know which one of you guys, I think both of you guys are going to, no, sorry, John is not. Well, whoever is going to be there. Um,
I hope I will be there if I would be able to do the visa. So now it's the question is
right.
of to Trump. I hope I will
Well,
be. Yeah.
I don't know if I will go to Minneapolis in
Yeah.
June, to be quite frank. Like, I
You
don't
need
know.
visa to go to Minneapolis now?
I do not need a visa. It's just the
Yeah, okay.
danger of being in Minneapolis, which is uh, on many people's minds right now, including ours here. So I might, and honestly, I don't even know what Firely is going to do. Like, if I were them, I would actually make it hybrid,
Mhm.
because
Yeah, I hope I will be there. So I'm gonna submit like report from our group so for this year about API.
yeah. So if we could take just a minute and put together like what our ideal track looks like, I will talk to Ward and Brian. I don't know if you heard about all this. They're like ice skating in the Arctic or whatever this week. They Brian is out there with the Firely folks doing like an ice
Mhm.
skating trip this week. So, what would it look like just from our perspective right now? I'm going to schedule something with Ward next week. He reached out um, and say like, this is what we're looking for. So what would that look like for us? What's our ideal?
I think some kind of round table, maybe the with the showcases. I know how to go.
Yeah, the only problem I have with that is that like that just requires more coordination for people, right? Like of a group of people. I think we could do that, but
Yeah, the problem if like most of us will not be there, so then yeah, like even
that's
if the half will be absent, so I don't know, or maybe I don't know. You can speak for puzzling, so because I still think that it's a good talk when we like dedicate 5 or 10 minutes to every implementation, and they will go and like show what we have, yeah, in the house.
so I would suggest something like we did not last time, but the time before. I can't remember what we did last time. Oh, we did similar things last time. So like
Yeah, we did something like that, yeah.
I like having the high level intro tech talk. I mean, we can kind of balance that. Would you be interested in like a let's build again, Nikolai? If let's I'm just assuming you'll be there.
I will probably ask Word if they interested to do that. I'm okay, so I can make like hands-on session.
Okay. I'm gonna like offer a let's build.
Hmm.
I'm just putting together a list and we can talk Ward and I can talk about it next
Yeah, yeah,
week.
yeah. I'm gonna
Um,
submit probably that Friday. Yeah, so we can discuss.
okay, I think there should definitely still be an intro session,
Yeah.
right? And it can be fairly lightweight on the technology side, just kind of like wet people's palates. I think any of us or folks who are there can do it. Um, and we have the content. So I'm going to say, as a baseline intro session, and given how long it could be shorter or longer. I forget how long they generally are. Like a let's build tutorial style session. People want to dig in a little bit, get their hands dirty, and then yeah, maybe a round table. Like it could be maybe part show and tell, part round table. Just offer like we're just offering different kind of looks. Um, because then in that case you could bring in, or not you specifically, Nikolai, but someone could bring in something like, FHIR to OMOP, I don't know, maybe AI stuff. We'll see. I don't know what's going on there with that, but um, it just sort of covers the bases, right? We can do some demos and then,
What I found when I did like a couple of talks that people could not map what we are doing to the real use case. And when you're showing them something like which they understand how it can be applied, so they're getting excited because
Mhm.
they see some technology that they don't. So for us, it's obvious how you get from like view definitions to some analytics, yeah,
Yeah.
or some real world cases. But for people, it's not obvious. So
Hmm.
and yeah, I don't know. Are we gonna have something like this use cases like and the user? Yeah. So what are they getting?
Hmm.
Because if you show them that they can build view definition and then using I don't know agent prompt make a
Hmm.
query they want, yes, so they will be impressed. If you're just telling that here's a view definition which will become table, they could not do the next step and understand that.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
I
I
think
agree.
I think that's why we need more user interface. We've started to build some. So um, Health Samurai have their user interface. We've started building more user interface into Pathlink. We're also working on this whole patient cohort interface that we have like an early prototype of, but I think we I've got more ideas about how that could be. But I feel like once you wrap it all, the whole process and start to make it more visual, it makes it a lot easier to bring people along. They don't want to be kind of seeing you messing around with, you know, JSON and in the terminal and all that sort of stuff. It's got to kind of be visual to some extent.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's good. So if we will have enough visuals, maybe we can do hands-on even with this all these tools. So somebody who will
Yeah,
things can show and people can use these interfaces. Yeah,
I
maybe.
think just,
Yeah.
as you're talking, Nikolai, I think you'd be really well placed for that in the sense that I'm not putting it on you, but like something like,
Yeah, but actually I can show, yeah. So the puzzling UI and then we will integrate our UI, I think, with this Steve and John stuff. So and I can show all of it together that guys, you have a choice. And maybe at the end
yeah,
we'll finish this agent which can generate view definitions for questionnaires and maybe even more. Yeah, so
yeah. So let me call that something like FHIR Analytics use cases demo, or something along those lines.
we may call it UX demo, yeah. No.
Yeah, I mean
For
it's
use
UX, but
case, ideally, like we need bring end-to-end business case. Yeah, so so we start from this fire data and we end up with the HITIS report or something like that,
hmm.
or the dashboard. That would be nice. I don't know. Maybe Steve, maybe you have something with your customers, so you can bring. We
Yeah,
can try to do the same.
yeah. The closest thing was the what I presented on for our conference. But we can put something else together. Um, Arjun, does this overlap with what? Trying to remember the name of the other guy. The CQL.
Gene Vessel.
Gene. Yeah.
Um, I would say less so. Gene, yeah, I'm seeing if Gene and I can get together for he was asking about a Dev Days like a co-presentation or something like that. I just generally lean that they're more separate
Okay.
because he's sort of going from natural language or SQL to CQL. I think we can kind of put some boundaries around it, and so we're kind of in a kind of pure SQL tabular
Yeah.
space because it makes the story I think a lot simpler. Number one, but also there are different use cases for CQL. There are I mean, that is sort of the point, is that there are these different kind of ecosystems. Um, but I'll talk to Gene. I think I haven't checked in with him for a couple of weeks, but I think he's still, it's also the CQL to SQL ecosystem. So like if you're starting, like think about, some of the analytics we saw during the conference, I think we can mine a lot of that. But if you're like, well, my starting input is CQL, okay, that's a specific use case, right? Because organization X that's what they're going to do. They're going to produce CQL. So that's one use case. It's a good use case, but it's not the same as, okay, well, I want to explore, this set of data using natural language and FHIR data and, at scale. Like those to me are different. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I think the overlap is less in my mind. I don't know if you guys agree with that.
I honestly think that the target now is already achievable. Is you just say, this is my question. Here's my data. This is my question.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a report.
Yeah.
And there's a number of things involved in that. Like, so, you've got to be able to get data out of systems. There's the FHIR part. You've got to be able to create views, like analyze the data requirements of the thing, create views to support that, run queries over the top of it, then get the results, run R or Python, whatever, get analysis, visualizations, all the rest of it. But the models can already do all of that. So I'm interested in working with you, Nikolai, on that view definition agent bit. And I think I've really gotten into this whole like evals thing at the moment, like evals, human calibration, optimization loops, all that sort of stuff. But by dev days, I think I'm feeling pretty bullish on all of this stuff, really. And it's, I guess it's like okay, how do I do this? Like tutorial for people to how do I do this? I guess it's what level should this be at? Like, what do people actually want to do within that? Are they going to be the people who help to write the agents or guide the agents to do integrations locally? Like what is the task these days? Like I think it's changing. Dev days is traditionally about devs, and it's probably people who are maybe working for vendors, working for health services, maybe it's just interested clinical people, the rest of it. But I think it's maybe changing. Like what are the learning goals? Maybe it's worth thinking about that.
It's a good point, John.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, maybe it sort of rises up a level, really more towards the business case and the business problem, if you can, and then you can demonstrate kind of that chain around it at a more, higher level.
How do I specify?
Higher level of abstraction, right? Yeah. How do I specify? How do I sort of organize the pieces I need, right, and orchestrate them, right? It's almost sort of like a kind of orchestration problem, or like how do I specify the problem I'm trying to solve? How do I specify the data set? It's an interesting question.
Well, like Nikolai, you were talking before about how you were getting a dozen agents to like extract information out of OMOP things. That kind of is the task, right? Like if that's kind of the task. Like what how do you do that sort of activity? Analyze all these sort of diverse types of integrations and extract an implementation out of it.
Yeah,
all that sort of stuff. But in the context of SQL and FHIR.
It's a really cool idea. I like it. I mean, that was my question. And I'm just thinking, um, yeah, like agentic fire. Uh,
Data analysis. Yeah,
yeah.
I think, it's no secret that there's a bunch of people, many on this call, who are trying to build these systems that are, uh, plain language in, beautiful analytic report out, right? Bashir is also. I was really impressed with his work in SQL that he presented as well, and a lot has changed over the last year. I think that's just one of the use cases, and here we are producing uh, relatively low level artifacts for enabling that kind of use case. But that I don't think is going to be the one and only use case for the future. I think you can see this collection of tools needing to be plugged in a pretty serious way, all sorts of areas of healthcare. Prior auth, compliance. Anytime anybody wants to operationalize one of these questions of the data, they're going to need all these things really, really baked, really bulletproof, and the query stuff that we've been contemplating. So I think it's safe to say that we're working towards an agentic future and trying to make these underpinning artifacts as good as they possibly can to enable that.
Hmm. Yeah. So Nikolai, I mean, or John, and I don't know if Steve wants to be on this too, but like, I think that would be a really interesting take on a Dev Days presentation, right? To say like, we're going to move above to that next level of abstraction of like, let's assume we have these kind of foundational technologies. Like, how would it look? What does it look like? What does a demonstration look like from a specific use case to organize the set of data, orchestrate agents to solve a particular question kind of end to end? Like, I think that would be, I don't think I've seen anything like that. I'm trying to think, like, have I seen anything quite like that? Not really. I think Gene's demo is probably the closest, but that was a particularly, like, that was a more specific use case that's a little more niche, right? That's I have organizations making CQL because they're required to. Then I want to take that CQL and flow it through, right? This is a little bit more general and probably more relevant to people.
I think as Steve said, lots of people are doing this sort of stuff, but I guess the unique thing that we can bring to it is the SQL on Fire aspect to it. Like, so how do you incorporate the SQL on Fire specific aspects? And
Right.
also the other bit that most people don't do is okay, that this does a great demo, because you can just hook it up with minimal work and it does, and to all appearances, it does an extremely good job. But how do you know it's good enough? Then that the next piece of work is, how do you actually know it's good, and how do you know it's good enough to actually use? And that's where the next piece of work comes in evaluation. I think that's the part that gets neglected. And I can imagine for the SQL on Fire parts of this, we could create sort of a paradigm similar to what we created with the testing of the SQL on Fire spec, where we could start developing, an evaluation loop for this stuff so that we know that it works. And we can say, okay, now we've built this really solid foundational building block for agents to use, which we know works because we can prove it works, sort of thing. And that's when it starts to get beyond demoware. It's just something
Yeah.
that people can actually use.
Yeah. I mean, that's an awesome point. Like, I thought I got to temper my enthusiasm a little bit because that was my first gut reaction to, all this LLM stuff 6 months or a year ago. I was like, all right, well, you need to evaluate it because it could just be hot garbage, right? And you just start trusting it. Um, I think we're really well placed, mainly because of the work that you did, John, on the paper. I was just thinking as you were talking, like, wouldn't it be cool if we like found more papers that use the like Mimic 4 FHIR data set and just like threw them into this pipeline, right? Because if we, the hard part is the data side, right? And said, build me an analysis, build me the set of view definitions. Let's say, build me the set of view definitions on Mimic 4 FHIR, right? You have access to the data, but like a factory, right? So a factory that sort of is attempting to automate a validation against gold standard, right? Which is the results of the paper. Kind of like make a factory to create that paper, right? Over and over and over again. Because the problem with evaluation is that it's ridiculously expensive, right? Like it can be. So I think I told you guys I went to the Conference of Medical Societies a couple of months ago to November. Um, and there was a great presentation by this company, Pharos, from I think from the UK. Definitely check them out. They're really cool. They worked with the American Society of Microbiology, and microbiology. There's coding, but it's mostly in free text form. So it's like a really good use case because it's like, so and so had uh, you know, specific bacterium, blah, 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 and not bacterium, blah, 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 right? There's no way to code that, right? There's no like ICD-10 or even SNOMED code for that. It's like literally has to be text. It can't be anything else. And so they worked with the society, got, a reasonably sized set of sample data, which is difficult to do. Then ran it through their model. I think I told you guys about this. Ran it through their model, which was like a deterministic flowchart kind of thing that had like little models inside it, right? Like LLMs, like mini LLMs inside it. I think looking at specific, like highly constrained prompts, looking at specific elements, kind of, it was really interesting approach I had not seen before. And then kind of working together to come up with the final result. Then that result was double validated against two um, independent human reviewers.
Hmm.
And I was like, that's how you should evaluate it. Like, that is a good framework for evaluation, right? I mean, obviously these guys are, this is the Medical Society of Pathology. They're not going to screw around. So I was like, I like that. I talked with them. I just was really impressed. So how do we're not going to bring that kind of rigor probably, but that was expensive. Like that cost a lot of money to do. But yeah, I think the evaluation component is really the key here. So all that being said, I know I like to talk. It would be really neat to have like a pipeline, right? Like toss in papers on one end that use the Mimic 4 data set, make a pipeline of what we did, particularly you, John, and your colleagues on that and see, because those are kind of pre-existing use cases, right?
Well, I
Can we?
think that we can't like do all the use case specific stuff. We're like the infrastructure foundational guys, but we need to kind of show how it can be done. I think there is some foundational stuff that we can do, like around training agents to do the foundational stuff. And then we're kind of showing patterns on how to move up the stack. The mimic thing is kind of like OMOP in a way because, with the mimic thing, we did like a set of views, a use case specific views. But then there's the whole mimic derived thing, which is like a common set of views over mimic that get used by like hundreds of papers. So you're effectively extracting common requirements out of like a vast set of use cases and creating like a common set of views, which is similar to the OMOP problem. So that's like a pattern. Like, how do you kind of get reusability from your views, and how does that happen, like in this sort of agentic world? You know, are you just like creating thousands of different views that are all slightly different for every different use case, or do you have an eye on sort of efficiency and reusability, and like how do you discover these views and all the rest of it? Does that happen in when we're using these tools? Or
View registry. I just think these are really interesting questions, right? Like we're at the point, it's cool that we're at the point where we can even start to ask these. Yeah.
Yeah, the view registry or IGs.
I mean, they are, yeah.
Yeah, we're enabling that stuff, and then the agents will learn it.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
evals.
analytic case.
Yeah.
Evals are going to be hard, right? Like, it's what do you
I'm
eval?
trying to imagine. So what kind of eval scripts, John, you see? So like here is your view definition, and find like a right query for that, or here is your FHIR data, create the view definition, write query, and like gather it, like find.
So I think the one that we could work on, I think there's a few, but one that we could work on is, here's your FHIR data, write a view for it. And we could basically just, you could have an agent that you give it some like an IG or whatever it is, and you write some views for it. Now, how do you know that that works? Well, there's some sort of hard evaluations you can do on that, like, you know, is it a valid view definition, et cetera. But then there's some more sort of soft evaluations. You know, what are the characteristics of a good view? Maybe even some of those things could be like, did you use these existing views, or like, are you sort of doing things that are like best practices in terms of creating views? And then you can sort of create like rubrics around, you know, how do you judge the output based on those things. And then you can have both humans and LLMs evaluate that, right? So that's where the cost thing comes in. Like, you can have humans evaluate it, you can have LLMs evaluate, you can check whether the humans agree with the LLMs. And once you've got them agreeing, you can have LLMs judging it, no problems. And that does cost a little bit of money, but not a whole lot. Certainly much cheaper than having humans evaluate it. So that's kind of the stuff that we're doing at the moment for other things. And once you have that loop, once you can say run the evals, comes back, okay, we're at 0.8. Then you can just start optimizing. In fact, you can run all sorts of optimizations with agents that can run the evals themselves. They can measure whether what they're doing is creating substantial improvement, and you can very quickly get to the best you can do within the constraints. So I feel like we could pick off, say, that problem as a thing we could do in our foundational space, but we could also do demos of that sort of pattern moving up the stack as well, you know. So once you've got these foundational things, can you move up the stack to other things, you know, like OMOP, like whatever particular use case you have, and how do people pick up all these tools and apply it to solving a problem?
John, question on what you said. Like, you said, like, we did the eval and it was 0.8. Like, what is the metric being scored there?
Well, the metric is whatever you want it to be. So you could have all sorts of sub metrics, like it could be anything. It could be like how complete or accurate or whatever it is that characteristics of the view definition or view definitions that you've created. And then you could say, well, like how important are each of these aspects overall? Okay, we'll put this a weighting of like 0.3 on this one or 0.1 on this one. And then you could say, well, overall, like this is the score for this particular example. Do you know what I mean? And then you could say,
Yeah.
okay, this is the thing we're going to try and optimize.
Yeah, I think it just gets to like where my head remains is I think the distinction between, hard metric and kind of a softer.
Don't you think, guys, that it should be end-to-end evals? Let's say here's your Indeed JSON bulk export, and you should find, I don't know, the patient with the specific conditions or like some cohort. And then it's easy to eval because you know what should be the answer, yes. And then it's even detached from the method, how you're doing that.
Right.
And we potentially can prove that if you, let's say, if you provide agent with the view definition tool and the query tool, it can do this work, just with these two tools, So even without, let's say, JavaScript eval or Bash eval, so just providing these two tools, the agent is able to achieve that, and maybe special prompts. So and it's much easier because it's easier to create these evals, because so you just take the data set and manually like looking for specific information, and that's the task. Here's your data set. Find this finding, like look for this finding, like give me this number, give me that number. And it's like, and there are two obvious metrics. Is it right or not? And the speed at which the agent and maybe resources, which was spent on to do the job, yes. And that's how we can prove that, let's say, even our technology is really good, because we can have baseline just Cloud Code. So and say, okay, Cloud Code, you can solve this task, but if you can solve it without Cloud Code with I don't know, Quen 3B on a laptop, providing two tools, yes, at the same time, so that's going to be the win,
Yeah, that's where my head is at. In terms of like, I call that like a hard replication, right? Of an earlier analysis that's hidden from you, right? That's how like NCQA evaluate like certification works, right? Like they literally give you this test deck that's a secret, like a top secret set of data. They hand it to you, and you hand them back an answer sheet, right? And that's it, right? And they'll tell you which ones, you got wrong, right? If you got any wrong. That's it. That's the end of the story. And of course they give you the measures, the English language measures, right? And that's it. It's completely black box, right? They never look at the code or how you executed it or anything like that. That's where I was going with my analytic case factory idea, right? Because the scientific paper has here's, the methods they used, the data set they used, and then the results they got, right? So I might be, this might be kind of pie in the sky, but I think it would be amazing. I think the underlying question is there another source of hard analytics, right? Like that you have both the inputs well defined and the output well defined. And I don't, unless I can't, and it has to be public, right? Otherwise there's no, I mean, like if, a private organization came to us and said like, oh, we'd love to do an internal demo of this, that's great because it'll save us time or money or whatever. We just haven't heard anything like that. of course, we should keep our ears out. But to me, it can only be kind of the scientific literature.
And that's
No,
where
I
the
think you're
OMOP can help us, yeah, because they have
Oh,
a lot of uh, uh, papers, yeah.
well, OMUP is like a flavor, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's a great, yeah. OMUP, it's yeah.
But we can
OMUP could be a great.
generalize. So if we can again, so if we can provide like as a source the FHIR data, and then we can take the paper or from Mimic or
Yeah.
MOP, take the queries like Bashir did, yes, and then we know what should be at the end, yeah. So if you want to hard problems, yeah, so easy problems, we can just somebody can sit down with a data source and write a few queries. So there's going to be like starting baseline evaluations, yes, and then you can get to the harder and harder problems.
Mhm.
So and like Bashir did, so I can give you the text of the paper, medical paper, yes, and you have to write the query.
Right. Yeah, and you can evaluate against humans. I mean, it's like the OMUP would be a really good
And
source
we
for
can
this.
even evaluate against SQL at that moment. So because if it's black box task, so you just have a data. So we really can try to compete with the SQL, and SQL guys can use the same.
It's a good. I think like I like that kind of bake off idea, right? And then we score the costs and resources, like
Yeah, the time, the
system,
resources,
humans, CQL, using OMOP, like that could be like, could be. It's a rich evaluation space potentially. So anyway, I'd be
have you
down with
guys
writing a proposal for it or working on
have
a
you guys
proposal.
sort of seen this thing called Kaggle?
Yeah, the
no.
Kaggle, ML, um, what do they call it?
Yeah.
Um,
So
prize.
imagine if you had like a Kaggle, which is like it's basically like a competition where
Mhm.
but the task could be like fire data in inside out, insight out, or
Yeah.
whatever it is, and you could like pick.
Mhm.
Um, I think you're absolutely right, Arjun. I think research papers is probably the closest thing we have with regards to where you evaluate. I think you probably, if you're smart, you're evaluating at multiple levels because it's like unit tests versus integration tests. Like the smaller piece is probably cheaper and quicker to evaluate if you want to just make sure that that piece works. But of course, the real value is in evaluating the end-to-end thing. But it's just about how you get there. Like if you want to try and win the Kaggle competition using SQL, then good luck to you. But there might be better ways of doing it. But like the thing I like about it is that you could have anything inside there, right? You could have just no AI, yeah, or you could have SQL on fire with AI aspects or like whatever you like. But that could also be sort of a way of educating or getting implementers engaged or whatever. I don't know. It's just an idea.
Yeah. No, it could be sort of, yeah, it could
It could
be
be like an
exactly.
analytic track activity at a connectathon.
Yeah. It's kind of a fun bake-off idea. I was just looking at DQuick, um, which I haven't connected up with what they've been doing thus far. Test the SQL engines, Node.js application, Python code. Like, I think they are releasing more SQL measures, um, a little bit more publicly. I need to double check.
Yeah, that could be the nice start, to be honest. If they publish it, so.
Yeah, so I think there's a little bit more openness on publishing CQL measures, kind of official
Mhm.
ones. Um, I need to double check on that. But if they were to tub publish both the measures and the test data and the results, then we're in business, right? because then we have a true comparator. Um, that notwithstanding, I think we could kind of engineer, with some creativity, throw your agents at PubMed and say, like, find me the papers that are the most likely for this kind of competition that we're thinking of, or this kind of experiment, I guess you could say. Um, Kind of a specific question on that, John. Like, will you have access to FHIR Mimic for, like, if there was a paper similar to the paper you worked on with with our paper, like, what else would sort of be needed? Like, if one had access to the FHIR Mimic 4 dataset, the paper uses it on its analysis, those two elements, like, is there something that we would need to do this kind of analysis we're talking about on a different paper? Like, is something missing there? Is like a missing element that we would need? Because to me, it's okay, like the data set, which is standard, stable, and then the analysis.
I don't think there's anything missing. So I think if you want to take it from FHIR data, you have Mimic 4 on FHIR. You have the Mimic 4 IG, which is another input to that, so that you know what elements are mapped in, how the data elements are mapped into FHIR.
Hmm.
And then you have a research question that you want to, and you've got results. So in the paper, you've got like a particular result that you want to reproduce. Maybe you try and reproduce all the results in the paper, or maybe you just pick a subset of that or whatever. So I think you would
Key
take that
results.
paper and you would kind of convert it into like a more a less ambiguous goal. Maybe you have an agent convert a paper into like a Kaggle competition or something, or like a sort of a definition of success and criteria and rules and whatever. And
Mhm.
I think that is really all you need. Like you say, there's lots of different ways you can go about actually implementing that, but I think that's a good thing. I don't think there needs to be any other constraints on it other than it comes from FHIR data.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Cool.
for Mimic, it's still you have to apply and get the permission, yeah, for the Mimic.
You can get a subset just free with no
So there is a
no.
free subset, yeah, without like any registration and all this stuff, yeah.
Yep. And to get the full one, you just have to do one of those sort of online courses about like ethics and doing good things and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it might be different for you, John, since you're, part of a national research organization versus us, but I mean,
No,
we could
we
try.
was able to get it, so yeah, we feel it
Oh, okay.
support, and yeah, we was able, yeah.
Yeah, anyone can get it. You've just got to go through a process on PhysioNet.
Okay.
So you register on PhysioNet, and then you have to go through a mandatory online training course, and then you can download it. So
Okay.
there's a subset which is like, I think maybe 5% or 10%. I think probably 5% of the data set, which is more than enough to get going. But to get the full data set, which is quite large, and probably too big to run on your local computer anyway, you need to go through like a mandatory training thing. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, this sounds, I mean,
Because it is actually real data. It's just de-identified data.
right. Right. It's a lot of signals, I think, or something. Um, cool. Yeah. This sounds like a fun Dev Days presentation if folks want to dive into it. I'd be interested in certainly helping out, being a part of it.
I'm really interested, John, in working on these evals. So let's maybe do some samples and then we can like set up the repo and start working on it.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you guys
So-
see that Star Trek episode where the society started relying on AI for everything, and they became all completely stupid and didn't know how to fix any of their computers or anything after a while? You guys remember that?
Is it TOS or TNG?
Next generation. Yeah,
It's
They
not
come to
ringing a
that.
bell.
Yeah, that's where we're headed. Like,
Yeah.
nobody's gonna know how anything works in 25 years because the bots are doing it all for us. Nobody's gonna know the fundamentals.
Okay, so coming back to, I know we've been chatting, but coming back to the original question about dev days, so I will check in with Ward. I'm gonna say one high level intro to SQL and FHIR. These are the talks I'm going to propose. FHIR Analytics sort of use cases demo. I didn't have anything better to explain that. And then 3, if you guys are willing, and happy to collaborate and work on this, like, what would we call it?
Clinical reasoning eval.
No, like I call it something like
Bench.
like replication at scale or something like that. Like
I
yeah,
think
maybe
we can
like
keep it kind of high level. We don't have to get into too much detail.
What would you just like
enough
call
to-
it as a title? Like I'm just trying to think like agentic FHIR and analytics of FHIR.
SQL.
Yes. Yeah, maybe something like that. Maybe we can
Just make some
Make
funny
it
name
into-
and then we will fill it with a semantic get like
Have it agentic
MetQL bench or something like that.
MetQL. How about agent swarm FHIR analytics agentic FHIR analytics at scale.
Yeah. Fire puzzles. So
Behind puzzles.
Met
All right.
puzzles, yeah.
Okay, cool.
have a think about it.
And I
Have
have
think about
a
them.
couple of questions, guys. So I'm working on this SQL query. So the very I will publish the pull request with the problem. So the 2 questions. So when we linking ViewDefinition, we're giving it name through the label using this reference, in the library. There is a label attribute which was non-required, which was optional. So should we make it required? So always give the alias to the ViewDefinition.
What is the label?
It's an element. It's I forgot how it's called. Reference.
Look.
Is it name?
Related artifact.
Ah.
It has a reference to canonical and it has a label. And we decided that the label is the name of the table.
Oh, the table name.
Yeah. And it wasn't required. So I think it should be required. There could be fallback to ViewDefinition name, but I don't think it is a good idea.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, I will publish these questions. I just we don't have enough time, but another question I'm thinking. So in the library has output parameters, which we potentially can use to describe the shape of response from the query.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially because it probably should be flat, at some degree. So we can use output parameters to describe the shape. I don't know, should we play the game or not? But it's a question yet to provide meta information. What will be the result of the query?
And you get into what if they're different? What if the actual results are different than what's described, right?
Yeah, but at least like manifest. So then it could be some kind of validation which will prove that the result of this query will be like that. Yeah.
It could be like all the agent stuff. It could be super helpful
Mhm.
without even running it. You're going to know
Yeah, because they will
Yeah.
understand what they will get like
Yeah.
as a response.
I think
Optional seems reasonable, right?
Yeah.
To me,
Yeah, they could be optional.
required might be too strong, because that's
You mean for output parameters? Yeah, they definitely
Yeah.
going to be optional. Yeah.
Okay.
So but yeah. And the last question, just to think for the homework.
Mhm.
So we want to call this query after, and we have a parameters. And how we gonna pass these parameters? So in FHIR, there's a named queries, which is defined through the operation definition, and then you can call them just passing parameters by name, like name equals something, name equals like parameter name. And it would be nice to have something like that for our queries when I can pass parameters by name. So I can create parameter like parameter name, parameter value, yeah, but it's like generic key value stuff. But ideally, the parameters should be like by name, yeah. So I can finally can call my query and provide, let's say, patient ID parameter, even through the get request as a query parameter. Yeah, like just say the patient equal something. So and that's the homework to think, because it looks nice. Not sure that we will fit existing FHIR infrastructure with that. Maybe we can talk to Graham. So I push the pull request. So and you're welcome to comment on that. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So homework for everybody to look at that pull request on parameters. Cool. Thank you.
And I think query is nice because essentially we with the view definition operation, so we build it's a MCP shape, yeah, for the future agents.
Nice. Great. Awesome. So everybody take a look at that. Yeah, let's follow up since, it is getting close. Like I said, I'll reach out to Ward. I think he's gonna be fine with us taking a few days past this week, considering he's out for dev days proposals. But let's, maybe throw up like a markdown, like a HackMD document or something that we can work on. Does anybody want to Nikolai, do you want to take that on just to throw up a HackMD document on what we are chatting about? Can you do that?
Yes, I will.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear you. And all right, yeah, the only other thing is for the Connectathon. I did reach out to Gino, and yeah, we just have to do official Connectathon stuff, right? Talk to Sandy, set up a normal track, and we can do whatever we want under those auspices. So, the schedule and everything isn't even out yet, but once that gets out, then yeah, I can help organize that. So it's just following the rules for a normal Connectathon track for us.
Okay, that's great. I did also forget to mention that FireEye approved us to become a project.
Yay!
So, right.
Great.
I think it just needs to be ratified by the co-sponsors. But yeah, so now I have to just check what the next step in the process is. But I think that it's going to happen at this point.
Sweet. Super. Very cool. All right. Well, I'm excited from our little chat. And I think we'll have some. I guess I was thinking like, oh, what are we going to talk about at Dev Days? Like same old thing? No, we could do something really interesting and fun. So I think that's part of like Dev Days is sort of being more experimental and interesting. So cool. I'm excited. All right. Nothing else. I'll let you guys go.
Talk to you later, guys.
All right.
See ya.
Bye,
Have a
everybody.
good week.
Yep. You too. See you.